Hello everyone, Ruby Ravel here, necromantic nymph and high priestess of Hecate, here to talk to you today about Venus square Pluto, where love, fear and death become inextricably entwined, all bound up with a neat bow of moribundity. Now Venus articulates the fact that no man is an island, that we are a social species, that we form close bonds with other people because it increases our chances of survival. If we are unpleasant, ugly, brutish, boorish, and antisocial, other people will probably not enjoy being around us unless they are of a similar temperament, and therefore we had a greater chance of being excluded and rejected by other people. If we cannot work alongside other people, if we lack the ability to cooperate, we have to do more and more things in our life on our own, which makes our chances of survival slimmer, and the pressures that it puts upon us to refine our own talents and accumulate our own resources even greater. However, if we maximize our beauty, if we do everything in our power to make ourselves pleasant, harmonious, even-tempered, graceful, and just generally a delight to be around, people will want to preserve our life. They will say, this person makes me feel good. They increase the amount of pleasure and enjoyment that I experience in life. Therefore, it is in the benefit of my own well-being to make sure that this person sticks around, that they are an entrenched part of the group to which I belong. Yet that same beauty and artfulness of grace, poise, and lovability that we cultivate to attract people to us, to say, look, here I am, come to me and share in my delights, can also be a source of danger if it attracts the wrong kind of people. Sometimes people respond to something they love with a deep primal instinct that says, I will have that thing by hook or by crook. The desire, the yearning, the compulsion to totally own and possess the thing that one loves can become this obsession in which everything becomes black and white. Either we attain what we desire or we die. When the consequences of getting or not getting what we want are so extreme and polarized, we are compelled to operate on a much deeper level of subtlety and subliminality. We cannot afford to make mistakes. We also cannot afford to give the game away, as that exposes us to greater dangers and possibilities of defeat. If people do not know what we are planning, if they do not know what we are plotting and calculating, then they cannot offer any effective resistance to us, because, like a very effective predator, they do not see the bite in the dark coming. For instance, let's say that you are the CEO of a corporation that is failing and desperately in need of a new fiscal injection to keep it surviving. And there seems to be a company that has been sniffing around that is interested in achieving some kind of merger. If this were to happen, if the right transactions were to take place, then your corporation could be saved and you could go from bankruptcy to being a billionaire once again. If you have a business meeting with these people, you are not going to treat it lightly. You are not going to enter into that situation with a martial or Jupiterian sense of devil may care. You are going to want to plot everything as intensively and forensically as possible. You will want to do as much research on the other people as possible, whilst also making sure that you secure and hide away anything that could make a merger with you to the other company seem less pleasant. And this same diplomacy, these same business type finaglings can also operate just in terms of ordinary romantic relationships and partnerships. For instance, let's just imagine that you have a crush on someone and you have finally been able to arrange some kind of date. It feels like it has taken a lot of work, even just to get you to this scenario. So you do not want to do anything that will screw it up. You want everything to go as smoothly as possible. You want to glide from having been a stranger, a mere acquaintance, to being someone who is sharing their bed. A Venus Sun or Venus Jupiter person in this situation probably wouldn't really overthink it. They would think, well, so long as I go into the situation being authentic, being my best self, and just go in with the attitude of having a good time and a sense of positivity and optimism, then things will work out, whatever the ultimate lasting result. If they don't like me, that's fine. I gave it my best shot and they probably weren't right for me anyway. A Venus-Pluto person will not think like this. There is only one possible outcome that is permitted. And therefore, rather than going in and being their authentic self, they might want to do everything in their power to conceal any skeletons in their closet which they think will make them less attractive to that person. They will want to carefully edit and censor the situation so that it puts them in the best possible light possible and reduces anything that could make them subject to rejection. This is the kind of person who will obsessively and secretly look through all of your history on all of your social media so that they know a lot of your background, so that they know your likes and dislikes. And so from all of this information and data, they can carefully try and construct what the best approach to seduce you would be. They will think about what dress or perfume would make you most irresistible to them. They will think you about the nicest restaurant where your defenses are most likely to be lowered. They will consider in advance all the topics and subjects of conversation that will put them to a best advantage and which will keep them far removed from any dark or doomy areas which could potentially lead to devastation. If they're an astrologer, they may spend a very long time looking at your synastry and trying to lean into all those positive interactions and downplay the negative ones, all in the hopes of getting the result that they want. This does not mean that Venus square Pluto is always deceitful and duplicitous. Sometimes it only resorts to covert tactics when it feels that being too forthright would only eliminate its chances of success. Sometimes calculated honesty is truly the best policy. If we are contemplating a long-term relationship with someone, we will have to face the fact that at some point, the considerable skeletons that we've amassed in our closet will have to be aired. That our history and the more difficult parts of our nature will at some point arise, that they cannot be hidden and kept in the shadows forever. Therefore, a Venus square Pluto person may actually go into a date and not just try and be trivial, charming, pleasant, and agreeable, but want to steer the conversation towards being honest about the difficult parts of themselves and their history as a way of testing the other person, of seeing if they are the right one for us, of seeing if they have the potentiality to love us to hell and back, even with a full knowledge of all our past sins and crimes. In an existing relationship or partnership, Venus square Pluto is more likely to manifest as a power struggle or a subliminal battle of wills. Being in a partnership with someone is not unlike sharing a chariot. Ideally, it works best if you are both going in the same direction, if you both have the same values, the same intentions, and the same feelings about what you want from life and how you go about getting them. However, if you reach this impasse where suddenly one person wants to go right and one person wants to go left, and neither of you is willing to budge, things begin to get tricky. Suddenly the preservation of this relationship, which may have been such a source of joy, beauty, and warmth and pleasure for us, seems under threat. We love having those qualities in our life. We love having all of that love and adoration readily available to us. But this schism, this difference of opinion, this crucial divide of opinion and intention seems to be threatening the possible separation of that relationship. So how does Venus square Pluto deal with that difficulty? Normally, Venus is all about compromise, about reaching some kind of middle ground. But with Pluto, with his black and white lens, that middle ground doesn't seem possible. Either one person wins or the other loses, or both win, but only if they are apart. It seems to be a choice between killing the relationship or killing a part of ourselves. If we give in to Venus, then we will say, I love you so much that I am willing to let you have your way in everything. I am afraid that if I don't say yes to you, if I am not constantly agreeable, if I am not constantly pleasant, then you will divorce me, you will reject me, you will throw me out of your life, and all of those good things that you give to me will cease to be available to me. However, the Plutonic part of us says, if I do that, I will have surrendered my self-control. I will have surrendered my pride. I will have essentially have made myself a slave to that other person's will. I will have placed their will on a greater footing of my own and created this essential inequality in which I am placed on the lower footing. These power struggles don't only have to make themselves known in a romantic partnership, they can occur in any kind of partnership. In creative partnerships, sometimes we have to go our separate ways if we have creative differences, if we have different opinions as to how a business is run, if we are living with someone and find that we have very different domestic values. All of these kinds of tensions and dissonances can arise. And I think one of the worst ways in which Venus can sometimes deal with the rot that it sees setting into a flower that it wishes would bloom forever is just by actively ignoring it. If it's constructed this pleasant idyll in life where everything is arranged just so in this kind of spiritual feng shui, then it will simply avoid engaging with any kind of conflict whatsoever. It will say things are absolutely fine as they are. I will ignore those transformations and changes that are coming upon me unbidden, and hope that if I just turn a blind eye to them, then somehow I can wait them out and they will go away. But Pluto doesn't simply go away. The monsters who lurk outside the walls of our pleasure dome are still there, whether we look at them actively or not, whether we plug our ears so we don't hear the groans of the undead scraping their elongated fingernails against our window panes. I think this is a good transit for doing some self-examination, for being honest with ourselves about the kinds of games that we play involving intimacy and overlapping values, about confronting the various machinations and convoluted ways we go about trying to be close with other people or secretly getting what we want. Anyway, I'm very tired and none of this has flowed very well for me today, so I'm going to stop there. My contact details will be below if you fancy any spiritual counseling. Please consider supporting me on Patreon and feel free to share any of your own Venus-Pluto stories with me. And many blessings to you.